All right. Peace and black power for at least the next hour. It's your humble host, Juice. Got a special guest in the building. Would you like to
Young
introduce
Stacks in the building.
Oh, okay. Young Stacks. That is her at. You know what I'm saying? It'll be in the description just like that. Just Young Stacks.
Young Stacks at lyrical_emotion. Follow me all over the place.
Hey, listen. I used to call people their Instagram name when I seen them in real life.
People still call me that.
Mm-hmm.
My Instagram name, Twitter handle, all of that been the same.
You got
so you gonna always find me.
Hey,
I ain't never lost.
Beautiful. So, all right. We gonna start off first, right? Cause this today is more of an interview. I don't know how I'm gonna title it. This is what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? So, we want to know about you. You know what I mean? Micalah, tell us about yourself. You feel me? Tell
all right. So my legal name is Micalah Matthews.
Whoa.
Groundbreaking. You a mess.
What is that?
Ain't much to me, but it's a lot to me. I'm 24, trying to be a young entrepreneur, trying to get out the working 9 to 5 the game.
Talk about it.
Do a little bit of everything. I'm a media presence, social media consultant, brander, graphic designer, website designer, and then I hustle on the side. But that's pretty much it. I ain't really got too much going on. Just a young black woman trying to make it in the world,
Okay. So where did you grow up? Where did you start off?
I'm a River Rouge native.
Wow. Listen, crazy,
Grew
right?
up on Fraser.
More Panthers.
Yeah, Panther fried. But I've been all around Southwest all my life.
Cool.
I took a little hiatus and went out to Westland for a little bit, but Southwest is the home.
Hey, look, let me tell you, look, this how y'all know she left the hood for real and for a minute. A hiatus.
Yeah, hiatus.
And
that's not even a big word. Don't do me.
I'm not saying it's a big word. I'm saying people that ain't never left the hood wouldn't use it.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah.
Like, yeah.
I was gone for a few years, but home is always home.
That's funny. Yeah, that's real. Always got to come back to your roots, right? So, talking about those roots, you want to... Elementary school, right? So, just to tell everybody, that's where, we met before elementary school. I would, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Technically, you know what I mean? Like, she was the flower girl for my dad's wedding, and I was the ring bearer, right?
So we've been locked in.
For a long time, you know what I'm saying? Crispy as hell and all way.
Okay.
Look us up. And so, like, we went to Ann Visitor Elementary School, right? Out here in River Rouge. And... something happened in first grade. Do you want to talk about this? Or
so in first grade, I went to River Rouge schools all throughout elementary. So Walter White, and Visitor, Sabbath, but hit and Visitor in first grade. Not to toot my own horn, they was hella smart. So I was kind of progressing a little faster than the rest of my class, and I had all these books we were supposed to read. When you little, you gotta do the sight reading, and they give you the little 4 or 5 page books.
Sight reading. Forgot about sight.
We had our placement testing, and I started reading I ran through all the books that they gave me or whatever, and I told them I loved reading. My mom was always reading with me. I had book collections as gifts from all my aunts, so it wasn't never I was allowed to do fun stuff. I was always learning.
Right.
And I'm I want to keep going. And I had time left because I read so fast. So the teacher was like, all right, pick one out of the bin. Picked a book from an 8th grade reading level.
Yikes.
Killed it. Didn't stumble on a word. She called my mom the same day and told her she wanted to have a meeting. And my mom thinking I did something. I don't know why, because I wasn't a bad kid. But she come up to the school. She's like, what's going on? What's wrong? And they're like, we think we want to go ahead and promote her, but she's already young. My birthday is late. My birthday is in December. So it was kind of having a year behind, but still being ahead. So they wanted to push me to a advanced first grade. And then they said, forget that. That's not working. I was pretty much in a split class, so I will be with my class for half the day, and other half of the day I will be with the second graders. And then they was like, this not working either. just go ahead and push her.
And when she say my class, she mean first grade and Miss Flores with me and the other dummies. You know what I'm saying?
Stop.
We was cool. Man, listen, I was helping them kids read too, and
yeah,
I know how trash they was.
It got to a point with like, but I remember, and I didn't take it as that as a kid, but I remember it would be days where like I would go read to other classes.
Yeah.
Like they would be
hard.
like, okay, go pick a book, and you know, you would go read for them while they teacher doing professional development or whatever. So it was like crazy. Got promoted, and then it like it has its ups and downs. So I won't say that was probably the start of the greatest thing educationally for me. Just because it made me behind in age, so socially it had an impact. Because I was always the youngest, I was always the smallest, and then I was already smart. So in a predominantly black neighborhood, they don't like smart kids.
I learned that fast too. It's funny. Because I always understood the work, but I had just enough whatever about myself that I just cut up just because it's like, man, these kids love when I cut up, and you know, you like to show off for the kids, right? So like that's the path I took. But I know what you mean. So damn, you was on some real like T.J. Henderson type shit. Cause you know it's funny, like, cause you, of course, when we was little, you know what I'm saying, like I was always happy for you getting double promoted. You know what I'm saying? Like, I always thought that was like the best shit ever. You know what I'm saying? So I never like, you don't think of like, it's pros and cons to everything, right? Yeah. So I wouldn't think about the cons.
Back then you wouldn't even think about it. Like, and it took me a while to realize that's what it was. Like I didn't have any inhibitions about it originally. I was like, you know, that's dope. Like I get to go to a whole nother. Like I think the worst part for me being a kid was all of my friends is in this class though. Like you telling me I gotta go make new friends. Yeah. I was more pissed about that. After I got over that, it was like, all right, we cool, but that age is kind of different. Like when you in first and second grade, you're still young, so being smart necessarily isn't a problem when you're that young. Right. That's not something you get bullied for that young. That don't come until a few years later. By the time I got to 7th, that became the downfall. Like I'm a year ahead of everybody. You know, still doing more work. My stepdad used to call me 4.0. Like that was my nickname in the house. Like I would talk back to my mama and he'd be like, 4.0, go sit down before you get yourself in trouble. Like, and it'd be like, okay, for these type of situations, it's cool when you little, but now I'm older. I'm getting talked about, people messing with me. Then I'm getting the teacher's pet thing because I'm still smart. Like, I'm not finna dumb myself down because I never had the thought of, like, just act like them. Like, it never crossed my mind to just like, go follow them.
And listen, and when you don't, like, and I know exactly what you mean, because when you don't realize that other people want you or would prefer you to act like them and just, you know, not, you know, push the envelope, you know what I mean, and whatever, you don't realize like how against the grain as far as like you said socially you really be going. So I feel you.
And by the time I realized that it was causing an issue, it was kind of too late. Like I had already established that reputation. Like people had already knew I was promoted. People already knew I was teacher's pet. Report cards start coming out. Like if I'm on the 4.0 list every time we get a report card, like it's too late for you, cuz.
So let me ask you this. Right. It's because you just already up there and in front of everybody, right? But so let me ask this though. Was it ever pressure to maintain that? Because I know you say like, because you know, and I know it's elementary school, so of course being a year younger, it probably was a little more challenging for you, but being smarter. Yeah. Elementary school work just not hard, no matter how hard. Work. Like exactly, no matter how deep you really get into it, it ain't really gonna be too tough. So I was gonna say, because I've always had a philosophy about this growing up, so I want to know like, but you did say like. It was hard maintaining that? Like,
it's hard maintaining it because I felt like I had to pick the side. So since I'm not going to go with, you know, being a class clown or following the pack.
And just being in a group.
And I'm going to be who I'm going to be. Now, like outside of this arena with these kids, I got these expectations with these teachers. I got these expectations at the crib. Like, I have to pick one. And luckily for me, by the time I got out of grade school, I went to DPS and went to Mark Twain for 6th grade. By the time I got there, luckily I had finally found some people like me. Yeah. So like my 4, I guess you can call them best friends. 2 of them are like actually legit best friends. But back then, like those people were just like me. So I kind of had a clique to compete with, and it was like, all right, we can be cool.
Your path like kind of more, like more fun and to stay on. Yeah, like okay, athletes hang out with athletes, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
So it's like, okay, I got y'all to hang out with. I don't have to worry about the social thing as much because I got people that are like me that are also the outcasts for being smart. But then when report cards come out, like. We at it.
We shot each other. Yeah.
So I'm mad that you got a 3.9 because nigga, what happened? We was supposed to get 4.0s. Like it was that deep. It was deep where when it went up, if we not on that list all together, what's the problem? Like,
right. So you just placed your energy and your focus elsewhere, like for that time.
Yeah, and then you like, I never knew anything different. I guess because education was so prominent in my household. I didn't think there was another option.
Right.
I never knew that there was an option to like get a B or not have good grades or get in trouble because it just wasn't allowed. So education for me has always been like a definite instead of if it's something you can attain. Like I started off being able to achieve young. So that expectation carried on my whole life.
Facts. Yeah. So, okay. So, and it's funny because literally I had importance of education written down. So, I don't think I know, like, I know y'all got some geniuses in your family, right? Of course, right? But, like, so, when you say education background, talk to people more on that. Like, what was that like?
Like I said, like, my birthday gifts from the time I was a little kid were book sets.
Right.
Like I
was a leapfrog kid.
Yeah, like I got Disney sets of Mickey and Minnie Mouse books because that was my favorite character.
Right.
Every leapfrog.
But it was just an education version of everything you like. I went through those periods because I was in trouble so much. So literally, that's where my like love of knowledge came from. Is from being in trouble so much. I always had knowledge in front of me.
Yeah.
But that same type of shit was happening.
It was so late in the game by the time that I was allowed to do things that were just for fun. Like I was one of the only kids I knew at that age that had a computer in their house. But the things that I was allowed to do were math brain and like.
So other people like, you be on Facebook? You like, nigga, no.
No, like I'm playing Fun Brain.
I'm on the Oregon Trail, actually.
Okay. So it's like those type of things, they place the importance in learning more than they placed it in fun. And it's not to say that I didn't have fun. I spent my whole entire summer of every summer for 10 years straight outside riding my bike and running around with kids. But when it came to like other sources of media, like I don't remember watching TV a whole lot that didn't have something educational to it. Like I wasn't the kid that liked SpongeBob. I was the kid that liked Sesame Street and like Gullah Gullah Island and stuff that was finna teach you.
Shout out to Gullah Gullah Island.
Hey, okay.
Yeah.
So even my video games, like computer games was always educational. My TV was always educational. My music was always gospel. Like not that I was rooted to be this good kid, but that was what I knew. So I think for my family's sake, like my mom is college educated. My dad went to the Army, but the rest of my family, I'm the first generation graduate. So it's like, I can't say that my family was huge on education, but I think they realized by the time I came up, the importance that it was going to have for me because they didn't get it. So I came at the right time where they were like, let's kind of start pouring into that part. And stop worrying so much about all this other stuff. And then I'm the youngest. Like, on my mom's side, I'm the youngest. On my dad's side, I was the youngest forever. So it's kind of like, I grew up outside of this generation. I grew up outside of the kids that were already up. We're in high school already. Like, me and Christina, 4 years apart.
Right.
By the time I got to high school, you already out of school.
Graduated.
Yeah. So, I remember that. It was totally different for me. I can't say that there was an importance that I realized that they were placing on it, but they kind of geared everything more towards the knowledge than the pleasure of it.
Right. And so, do you Cause it sounds like you did like you definitely made the best of like just the way that you grew up, right, and everything that you basically had to put on your shoulders. So that's a responsibility to be quote unquote the smart one. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like it's funny. I don't think I told the story on the project. My dad had told me one time when I was young. Like he told me like because I just got in trouble for my report card or whatever. He like, well, if I wasn't used to you getting straight A's, because I always got the ones as far as the work, but then I got like a 4 or a 5 in behavior. You feel me? Like so it was literally like flip flop. So he was like, if I wasn't used to you getting straight A's, I wouldn't be mad at this.
Mm-hmm.
So what I heard was,
don't do this.
Yeah. So I'm like,
if you start coasting,
this is what's gonna be expected of me. You feel me? And so on some real life shit, you feel me? That's the path. And so what I was gonna say, like, what do you? But it's funny because that's still. I did that to not be lonely, because like when you just gotta sit by yourself and read. Ain't no other kid reading at the time. So it's gonna be lonely. You know what I'm saying? When anybody else watching PBS, so you ain't got nobody to talk about this shit with. You feel me? Like so, it's like that I was trying to avoid the isolation, but being around other kids doing other things that I didn't really, I shouldn't have been doing anyway. You feel me? Still led to a kind of lonely feeling, because at the end of the day, you still not around your people because they. Yeah, and so what I was gonna say, what do you think? How do you think that isolation just affected you, like as far as your thought process and just
Well, I'm the only kid from both parents, so I'm used to being by myself. So you like a real life only child? Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I can't say that. Mm-hmm. I do have half sister and half brother. They're 10 years older than me, and they live in other states.
Okay.
So for all intents and purposes, they're 35, and they've always lived in other states.
Right. You always got.
Yeah, I'm by myself.
Yeah, as far as whatever who the dude that do all the different stages of a kid. As far as he's concerned,
I'm by myself.
Right. Okay.
So I think for me, the isolation. People have this misconception of only children that it makes them like selfish. It makes them more apt to be isolated and be okay with it. Like they cool with being by themselves. That's an absolute lie. At least in my case, I hate being by myself. I hate even now I'm grown and I want to be around people all the time. I was the kid that cried when people had to go in the house. Like that's what I used to get in trouble for. Like, bro, I want to keep playing. Like, do I have to go in the house? I'm by myself all the time. So for me, that sense of isolation in education was kind of like the isolation that I felt all the time. Yeah. And because of what happens when you're the smart child and you get kind of pushed off to the wayside. I got bullied for it, so it was like I'm gonna be isolated because y'all gonna be mean anyway. Yeah. It didn't really bother me in the sense I happen to be by myself. It bothered me in a sense more so like I don't feel like I have nobody that I can kick it with, because all of y'all hate me because I'm smart, and it ain't nothing I can do about it. But the isolation of like being the only one that's doing a certain thing, like that never bothered me. Like it never bothered me that I was a smart one. I could still kick it with you and we could talk about the stuff that happened in everyday life. Yeah. I'm just gonna wait until I find somebody that could talk to me about whatever I watched on the History Channel yesterday. Like I'll find one of them eventually. Right. It just bothered me more so that it was another layer of always being by myself. So it was like, all right, this kind of sucks. Like I kind of wish I was the class clown, or wish I was one of them. And then for girls, it's totally different. Like at that age, you got little girls walking around wearing whatever, talking to boys and kissing in the back hallways and stuff. Like middle school age, you ain't worried about work. Like that's the first glimpse everybody got of puberty, so we finna act out. I wasn't on that tip either. I wasn't even at that point. I don't even think I realized that there was supposed to be an interest in boys. I was like, oh, okay, this is what y'all do. All right, they get on my nerves.
Yeah, that's their thing, but like we should all be doing this.
I don't know. It's more so like, I guess it did help me grow later on. Like, it helped me to get used to being in my own lane. Like, I don't really have a problem being in my own lane now. Nice. Back then, it was rough, but now, like, I don't really need you to be on the same stuff I'm on. Like, we can still kick it. You ain't got to feel the same way I feel. You ain't got to do the same stuff I do. I can roll by myself, and I'm good at it. I be in multiple bags that nobody can touch around me. That's not to boast. That's just not y'all lane.
Right.
And it worked out from, like, being an only child. It worked out from being by myself. It worked out from leaving home and being the only one that went to college. Like, some of those experiences kind of molded, okay, even though you don't really like being by yourself, you don't like moving like this, it made it easier to navigate in different arenas and be like the chameleon.
Yeah, so basically you can be good anywhere. You know what I'm saying? Like, adaptable, as they would say. Yeah, that's beautiful though, because, and that's why I asked, because I know, like, I feel like everybody is just an amalgamation of everything that's ever happened to them, right? And more dominantly, whatever intensely happened to you in your childhood. You know what I'm saying? Because, like, some people never conquer their inner child. Some people do. You know what I mean? But it's. I feel like it's good to take those lessons. Like, okay, if I'm isolated, I'ma just, I'm gonna learn how to, deal with.
And I think the other thing for me, like, education wise, like. It wasn't necessarily that I liked it. I'll tell anybody. They be like, "Oh, you must have loved school." No, I didn't. I hated school.
Right.
I was just good at it. Like, some people are naturally apt to
listen.
Yeah.
There's plenty of basketball players who they like, nigga, I want to cook. Like, nigga, I was tall. It was like,
it just
this was not my fault. Yeah,
I tell anybody all the time. They all like, "Oh yeah, you so smart." Like, when I got to school, the master's degree, I don't want to go back to school.
Right.
Like, I'm going because I have to. Like, I don't want to go back.
Like, it's more practical for the situation.
Like, speaking to what you said about your childhood, I think that was more so an outlet. Like, I went through a lot of trauma as a child. I went through a whole bunch of stuff back and forth with my parents, like my home situations. So it's like, I think in that, my outlet was going to school. My outlet was being in books. Like, I'm finna do this homework and I'm finna ignore y'all.
Exactly.
I'm finna ignore what's around me. I don't really care about all that from every point in life, whether it been elementary to middle to high school, all the way to college. That was my outlet. I went to college and was like, whatever y'all got going on over here, I'm cool.
Yeah. Like, hey, from stress to blessed. Because, like, that's the same way, like, for instance, like, I gotta sleep the Ancient Aliens. You know what I'm saying? But that's because, like I said, I was in trouble so much. I'm watching the History Channel all the time, right? So I'm like, all right, let me at least enjoy the time I got, you know what I'm saying, with the TV, right? And so, like, it made, like I said, it grew, my just love for knowledge, because, like, I feel like, the shit that you don't take like that and flip it into a positive for you is gonna end up breaking you. Or, that's why people got so many quote unquote triggers. You feel me? Like, because it's so much stuff that they didn't deal with that now they can't even deal with. You know what I'm saying? I can't even. You know what I'm saying? Like,
for sure.
You didn't deal with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's dope that you grew through that. So, just to cap off the education, conversation, you went to Michigan State, right?
I did. Go Green. Go White.
Talk about it.
So I went to Michigan State. I left high school. I ended up leaving the city. I went to Southgate to go to high school. So I was a Titan for a little bit. Got out of there, and like I said earlier, like, education wasn't an option. So it never was like, if you go to school, it was where you was going to school. And at the time that I got ready to go to school, my mom was sick. So Michigan State was not necessarily my first choice. I actually, like, I kind of wanted to go out of state, but I was scared to go out of state. I would have loved to go to an HBCU, but at the time, my mom had got really sick. And that was the first year that I'd ever seen her, like, basically disabled. And I'm like, I can't leave. I'm the only kid. So it's like, I ain't going nowhere. She wasn't having it. She was trying to get me to go out of state the entire time. So Michigan State was actually a compromise. Michigan State was, and I told her, and I quote, "It's far enough for you not to pop up on me, and it's close enough for me to get back home."
That's exactly how I felt about Kalamazoo. Like, damn near that same. I had that same damn near like quote almost. Good. That's
so
crazy.
I'm like, all right, cool.
Wow.
I'll take that. I did. I got into Michigan State. I got into U of M, Dearborn, and Ann Arbor.
Mm-hmm.
My dad is a diehard Wolverine, so he was pissed. I've never heard a parent be mad about a college acceptance. I told him like,
in a great college.
I'm like, I'm going to Michigan State. He's like, wait, you added a word. What you talking about? Like the green one, the one I don't like. Nigga didn't talk to me for a week. And I got ready to go to school. And I'm not gonna lie, I was petrified out of my mind because it's the first time that I've had to be away from home. It's the first time I had to be away from my parents. I was out of my comfort zone. I'm like, y'all about to send me up here. I gotta stay up here. Like, this ain't Wayne State. I can't go back and forth. So I got to Michigan State, and you know, I think there's two different type of college kids. It's the ones that like stay at home. And they like, I'm coming back every weekend, and then it's the ones that don't touch home.
Yep.
I was one of them. I'm not touching home. I got up there, and you had to beg me to come back. I came back one time 2 months later to help her move because she couldn't live by herself. And after that, the only time you seeing me is Christmas breaks and spring break. I'm not coming back. But the college experience is so much different than, you know, anything you experience coming up through intermediate school that is like, it was a whole new world that opened up. When you live in Downriver, you used to the same thing. Like, you haven't experienced a lot of this stuff. And you will get culture shock quick. Being up in Michigan State is a predominantly white school.
I was about to say, so like, so what was that like, as far as...
For me, coming from Southgate wasn't as bad because I had already
a little buffer there. Like
I had kind of already experienced it, but it's so crazy because like, you know how people say like black people gather wherever they go, like that's really what happens. I got up to school and
we find each other.
There were like they're called neighborhoods in our campuses. You got East Neighborhood, West Neighborhood, Brody, and you got these, you know, different kids from different areas. Detroit people always find each other. All of my circle was damn near Detroit, Flint, and Kazoo. That was it.
Crazy. Wow.
Out of all of the black people in the world, I kept finding the ones that were right around home because that's what's comfortable. And it's like, you do get the culture shock, but then you also get a sense of like familiarity. So I had people that I was close to. One of the girls that was my best friend in middle school actually was my roommate in college. We just happened to figure out that we both got accepted, and I'm like, yo, if I get in, let's put each other on the roommate app. Stay roommates 3 years. So I had somebody that I knew.
You said roommate app? Talk about that. What's that?
Basically, when you fill out your application for housing, there was a place where you could basically say, like, if there was another student that you want to get placed with, you can both put each other's names into it. And they give you a higher chance of getting placed with somebody you know.
Okay, so just a higher chance of that, like, okay.
So when we filled out the housing app, I'm like, yo, if you didn't fill yours out already, go ahead and type me in, fam. And we ended up being roommates all 3 years that I stayed on campus. But it's like the Michigan State thing was a whole different experience. The first year probably was the hardest, being away from home, but it was also most fun. It's the first time you experience freedom as a young adult. A lot of people haven't had that sense of freedom to be able to make their own decisions. And because I wasn't irresponsible, it kind of worked out in my favor because it's not like I was going to be not doing work in class. Like, I wasn't one of them kids. So I could hang out. I had a full-time job the whole time I was there. I was working. I was hanging out. I was going to class. And I finally got a sense of, like, freedom and independence. By the time I got to my last year, like, if y'all thought y'all had to beg me to come home before, I don't want to come back. I didn't want to come back home at all. Like, nah, I'm not. I'm out the city now.
Out the city. Where was you gonna move if you would have like moved? Was you gonna stay in Lansing?
I wanted to stay in East Lansing. The last year that I was there, you're gonna talk about me because I've also finished school a year early.
Wow.
So I finished my degree in 3 years and a half semester instead of 4.
Okay.
But that was mostly because of my mom. So my mom was a double lung transplant candidate at the time. She's a recipient now.
Hey, yes. Yep,
we went from legs from Michelle to Michelle got lungs.
I'm just pausing because I'm adding claps all through here. Yeah.
But yeah, so she was a lung transplant candidate at the time, and it was getting kind of hectic. So I remember vividly one of the last times she went up to University of Pittsburgh to get listed for a transplant. She wasn't even listed then. And they wouldn't accept her as a candidate anywhere in Michigan. She was going out of state to try to get somebody to list her on a registry. And I was at my academic advisor's office. And she called me. I was supposed to be going into the appointment, and she was coming back from Pittsburgh, and she called me, and she didn't say anything. She answered the phone. I'm like, hello? And she like, they told me no. I was like, all right. So I just got off the phone. I'm like, all right, whatever. I'll talk to you later. She's like, you gonna be all right? I'll figure it out. Click. And I'm in the academic advisor hallway bawling. They came out, they're required to report that type of stuff. So she come out, she's like, what's wrong with you? I'm like, nothing. I'm okay. Keep going. She cleared her schedule for the rest of the day. She like, you gonna sit here until you tell me, like, why you outside of my office in a puddle. So I explained to her, I'm like, I gotta go home. This is my worst semester ever. My last semester on campus had a 1.7. Almost got kicked out. I was on academic probation. I've never been on academic probation. I've never had anything less than a 3 point anything.
Yikes.
So I had a 1.7 because I couldn't focus on nothing. I was trying to get back home. And I remember she cleared her schedule for the rest of the day. And she was like, all right, look, let me see your schedule. I was taking 18 credits. She's like, I need you to get through these classes. Can you get through these classes and at least pass them? I don't need you to pass them well. I need you to 2-point them. Can you at least 2-point these classes?
2-point these. Yeah.
And I'm like, I can try. She's like, if you 2-point these classes, she spent her computer around. She said, because of how you take classes, because all of my electives were kind of classes that I needed to take anyway. Coincidentally, that was the stuff that I liked.
Correct.
She said, if you can get through these classes, your requirements are done. If you can get through this last semester, you done with all your requirements. Your whole next year is nothing but electives. I can send you home, but you have to finish this. If you can finish this and get out, she flipped it and she said, all of your next year credits are all electives, and handed me a piece of paper with all online classes, and then handed me an email from seniors that said, these are the easy ones.
Crazy.
And was like, I can set you up with all online classes, and this can be your last semester here. You can go home and you'll walk in December because you're actually ahead. I said, what? She's like, yeah. You on track to get out. You ain't never done 12 credits. You've done 15 to 18 every semester.
Right. That should matter. It matters a lot.
And I did summer classes.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm like,
who's up there?
All right, finished them. Went right back home. I did my whole entire last semester online, then did a summer semester, and I walked in the fall instead of the spring, and I was out a whole year early. So the last time I was actually on campus was a whole year before I was supposed to graduate, and everybody just thought I disappeared till I came back and walked for graduation, because I walked I walked ahead of the rest of my class. So everybody like, dang, what you mean you up here?
I thought you dropped out.
You
come back and shit on everybody.
I'm texting people like, hey, y'all coming to graduation? And they're like, for who?
Is you coming again?
They like, for who? For me, fam. Oh, you graduating? Yeah, like,
that's crazy. Yeah.
Meet me at the stadium, fam.
Man, I ain't seen y'all in a minute.
Right.
I'm about to pull up on y'all. So, all right, well, as everybody listening can see, I'm sure you articulate yourself very well, right? So I
suppose.
Right, so I guess one of the reasons being could be because you also are a part of a podcast.
I am.
So you want to talk about that?
So, the wonderful world that is Scott versus the internet. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram.
Hey, y'all know them links gonna be in the description.
Yeah. Scott versus the Internet is actually not my baby, although I named it. Okay. It is a spin-off of a previous show that I was also a part of called The Everyday Theory. It actually was Chauncey's love child. Him and his brother Jay created The Everyday Theory originally. Oh, okay. And I was brought on as an actor actually while I was in school. So I was never an original member. But they started this together, and then Jay moved out of state, and we kind of kept The Everyday Theory going because we enjoyed it. And it started off more so like, I'm sure it's for something for them to do. We continued it on and brought on a whole squad of people. We had episodes that were 5 and 6 people deep at sometimes, all ganged up in my mama's living room, in his basement. And it kind of became like something just to keep us all entertained, but also like keep us connected. Because we all had busy lives. We had, work and school and kids and whatever was going on. But every week we would meet up. At one point we was doing 2 shows a week. We would meet up and talk about whatever. Some days we would have an actual agenda on the ballot, but other days this is just a free for all. We just felt like seeing each other. So let's turn the mics on.
Let's just
so we went from that, and it got kind of hectic with The Everyday Theory because there's a whole bunch of us. So we kind of had to rebrand and rethink about what our goal really was for moving forward. So that's how we came up with Scott versus the Internet. And it was myself, him, and Kari. And we kind of continued with just us 3. We have guests from time to time, but for the most part, we kind of honed on what the importance really was of what we wanted to do, what kind of name we wanted to put out there for ourselves, and what topics we wanted to cover, because we had so much fun the first time around, but it was unpolished. It was, it got crazy. There was,
and that's what you trade, right? Yeah. It's like less organized, but we having a ball, and it's like, and people can hear that when you having but some people prefer a little more organization, no matter what type of time they're having. They're like, nigga, I need the information.
And it's like, even for shows that are meant for fun purposes, even if it's just for entertainment and we're not an informational show or a political show or whatever it's supposed to be, you still have listeners that at the end of the day can understand that some things need structure. And so it kind of became like, okay, we getting a little too far off topic now. Like, there were days that were absolutely amazing fun-wise that the world will never hear. We have so many unreleased shows because there's something that was said that if this come back 20 years later, we'll never live this down. So now we have Scott versus the Internet. We've kind of been on a break, but we are trying to come back and have a couple more things in store. So, like I said originally, working on social media branding, marketing, advertisement was my specialization in school. Beautiful. And so it's kind of like we want something bigger than just a show. We want something bigger. We're trying to create a brand at this point. Facts. So, of course, you're going to always get to hear us talk shit to each other, but at the same time, we want to, give back to our communities. We want to have other content, video content, photo content. We want to have other lanes that we also bring back to a media conglomerate that will help, the next set of kids that want to do something that you ain't never seen before. Growing up, we didn't know nobody that did a podcast. What was a podcast when we was growing up?
Where was
we listen to people on the radio for some of the time. We had some radio talent, but that was about it. That was just when you felt like listening to a radio. Now we don't even have a radio. Like, Apple Music and Spotify have taken over the world. I can't remember when the last time I actually just listened to the radio was.
Exactly. But it's because, especially for music on the radio, I feel like if you only listen to music on the radio, basically so you get your taste from the radio, you probably just not a super music lover anyway. You know what I'm saying? You probably like music to get you to your destination or whatever, but you're probably not a super music lover if you're just off the radio.
I'm pissed if I get in your car and you don't have an aux cord.
Yeah, like why are we listening to commercials right now? Like this is Joe Biden.
Why are we listening to the
right
same song 7 times? I can click the same. I can click 6 stations and I'm gonna hear "Laugh Now Cry Later" all 6 times.
And they're blipping the best shit out.
So there's kind of that aspect at this point. Like you want to grow something, because I would love for there to be something for somebody else to look up to, and even if that's only a couple kids in the neighborhood, like even if that's only a few people in Downriver, that's somebody that saw something that they were interested in and said, hey, I can get out of this, this lane that we was talking about with the education. I don't have to do that.
Right.
Let me go over here. Let me go talk to my friends and let's go put out some information. Let's go shoot a video. Let's do a skit. Whatever it may be. All of those things at this point are kind of where we're gearing our focus to. And of course the show is always going to be the forefront because that's where we started. But there's so many other things that we want to incorporate.
If you just own the name. Yeah. Scott versus, then you can put that on anything. Yeah. Like, you know what I'm saying? You got t-shirts, you got you got everything. Like you said, a brand. You know what I mean? It's all, and it's funny because these type of conversations people would like never have on their own shows because their marketing will be based around tricking the people into liking things. You know what I'm saying? When I feel like now the goal a lot more is, to just actually find the people on the internet that are looking for your content, because there's always people looking for content. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so if you into it, somebody else probably is too. And you just gotta find those people and separate them on the internet and bring them back together in one spot. So like that's dope.
Like there's so many things just within the household, like that also go into what we do as a brand, like. Because we take breaks and we hold each other accountable. Like, we take long breaks. We take summers off. That's our thing. Like, not intentionally, but we've taken pretty much every summer we've ever done a show. Now, did we come back better? Every time. We come back with, a better flow. We have better energy. But there's things like, okay, now we got to hone in because we got a different thing in mind. This isn't just for fun anymore.
Right. Production value, man.
And at some point, of course, everybody want to monetize. So it's that's also in the queue. Like, we want to monetize things. But we also have our own individual endeavors. Like, my goal before 2021 is to have Triple M Marketing as a actual brand. That's what I'm gonna do. He has Monumental, the mentorship. So the plan is to have young black men being mentored, all different age groups from 5 on up, that can have somebody to look up to, that we can learn to channel emotions, that we can learn what integrity is. We can learn leadership
almost like
skills.
Big Brother for
because we don't have a lot of these things available.
Can you say the names one more time?
Monumental. That's the mentorship. So you can check that out on Monumental Mentor Program on Facebook.
Okay. You give me the links, whatever links I got.
And then I'm Triple M Marketing, but I ain't got out there yet. So if you need me for slight graphic design, website design, social media branding, that's my lane. But those things eventually will be a part of the brand. Like, Scott versus the internet is going to be something that falls under this umbrella of what we're already doing. All of these things will be available. So if you like one thing, there are 6 other things that you can probably find that'll interest you. There's, at some point we want to start bringing other people up into what we started to do. Because we don't want this to die out. Like, it was such a great experience for me, and I tell them all the time, like, it's not even mine, but the experience of coming together with my friends every week and having something to look forward to, having something to be like, yo, I had a terrible week, my day is trash, I'm sick of work, and they used to walk in my house, and I'm like, turn it off, it's time to work. By the end of this, we are smiling, no matter what my day was like, no matter what I felt like before this. I got something as an outlet.
Yeah.
We need that as a community.
Like, yeah, no, it's. I was about. That's therapy. That's what a therapy session is. You block off an hour, 2 hours, however many hours of your day. You go there. You talk about your problems. You talk or talk about something that's not even related to your problems. That could, you know what I mean, in some roundabout, or in some roundabout way, be about your problem. Yeah. You feel me? And still help you solve your issues. So like, yeah, like I definitely feel like the podcast is one of the most powerful things that exists today. You know what I'm saying? And it's funny, me and my sister used to always have this thing. We was those kids, like, we used to make songs when we was little, and then swear like somebody on the radio stole it. You know what I'm saying? Like, that was, like, yeah, we got like 2 of them. It's cool.
And I'll be sick of people that say, like, the oversaturation of a market. Like, yeah, okay, it's probably, there are a billion podcasts. You separate yourself regardless. Yeah, there are a billion podcasts, but my goal is to make you want to listen to me. I don't care how many of them are.
You know what I say to people that say anything about oversaturation? God put 8 billion people here. How do you feel special at all on a daily basis? You know what I'm saying? Like so, and the way that you do that is by doing what you gotta do to feel. You know what I'm saying? Like, to feel how you gotta feel. You know what I'm saying? Like, actually, if you feel like you're somebody, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's 8 billion people in the world. Like, so if you can feel like you're somebody amongst all of that other energy, like, yeah, like,
because somebody think you somebody.
Right.
Somebody is listening to this show right now. And if it's just that one person, somebody thought it was important enough to listen to that one person. That's the mindset that we have to get out of. Like, it's too many people doing one thing. I hear people talking about that with the boutiques and stuff. Like, okay, if they all selling the same thing, then make yourself stand out.
You wouldn't tell me it was I ain't never heard nobody say it was too many liquor stores out here. It's like, I'm gonna just go to the other one. You feel me? Like, like it's convenient.
It's something about one of these that's gonna make me come. Right. Maybe
like,
it's
some
the price
people go
point.
To here, some
maybe it's the price point here. Maybe it's that they giving out code over here. Maybe it's that my mans be looking out for me over here.
Right.
Maybe it's I seen them walk this old lady to her car and take her bag.
He got the fresh blunts. He got the stale blunts. Okay. But he got chicken and he got, you know what I'm saying? Like,
whatever.
Like, yeah, all that.
It's enough room for all of us to eat. I've been saying that for way too long. It's enough room for all of us to eat. There is never too much of one thing, because everything's not going to be for everybody. So there's going to be one thing that makes me stand out from somebody else, and that one thing is enough.
And when you lack an ego, you can always collaborate. You feel me? Like with or I should say, like, with the lack of an ego, you can always collaborate on things. So it just makes things bigger, especially when everybody's doing well. But the last thing I was gonna say about me and when me and my sister was kids, it's funny. She had just talked to me about this the other day. Like, she feel we damn near invented podcasting in a way, and of course we didn't. But we used to literally, like, we would make a whole radio show, because, you know, of course we all out here, we grew up with Coco and Foolish.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
I was just about to say that. Yeah.
You feel me? But I also used to love Mojo in the Morning too. Like, when I was a kid, like, that was really my shit when I was young. You know what I'm saying? But when me and my sister was kids, we would literally, like, we use her karaoke machine. She had a karaoke machine, right? We record the songs off the radio with the mic, you know what I'm saying? We record them while they play. And then in between the songs, we'd just, like, talk about shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, fake ass stories, fake ass whatever. You feel me? And, like, it was just like, but it was a whole, like, radio show. You feel me? And then we gonna pause for the song. And then, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, but, and that was, like, it. But, like you said, that shit is dope, though. You know what I'm saying? Like, being able to come together and just talk, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know, like, I feel like it's so intimate just when it's just sound, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, I like recording the episodes, you know what I mean, visually, but it all started with sound, right? You know what I'm saying? And when you could just get that direct connection, it's damn near like sitting in on a conversation that you don't have to say nothing in. You know what I'm saying? Which I love. Yeah. I love sitting in a good conversation that I don't have to chip in for. You know what I'm saying?
And like, you know what's crazy? It's been so many times that we've dropped an episode that, like, some episodes that we thought were just amazing that did nothing. And episodes that we was playing around that did super numbers, and, like, people was texting me and adding it to their story, and I heard y'all saying such and such. Like, y'all crazy. It was mind blowing to me at the point that started becoming a regular thing. Like, at the point that I realized, like, we kind of have a regular audience now. Yeah. At the point that people were hitting me up like, hey, y'all haven't put out a show. Right. Like, somebody is noticing that they're missing.
And that's and that's what you want. Yeah, like, man.
The first time somebody hit me with that, I'm like, yo, we actually got listeners. Like,
right,
people really be.
You talking about our show?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Because, you see the views or whatever, and we all share it, and, have people that share it just because some of my best friends probably have never listened to my show. Of course, they've shared it, but I literally got told to my face by one of my best friends today, I ain't never listened to it. She done shared like 17 episodes. I ain't never listened to it. And that's cool. No hate. Look, our episodes be long. I wouldn't want to sit there for an hour either. But, eventually, I might be the dope button of Downriver. Eventually, y'all gonna be sitting here like, yo, I'm really waiting for an episode to drop. I'm really gonna sit here until the episode drops and listen to it before I go to work because I'm that invested.
Right.
So it's like, it's cool to know that you've come from a place where this was just for fun to people are actually listening or to people are actually looking for it.
Right. Yeah, hell yeah. I can relate with the music too. Like, yeah, cause you always do stuff like that you gonna put out to the public. Even if you don't care about people's opinion, everybody secretly hope that somebody gonna like. Don't nobody want to just put out some shit and everybody say you's up. You feel me? You want people to like your shit. You want people to like you. You feel me? So like, yeah, when somebody can like some shit that came directly from your brain, which is any creative content, like you like, damn, you fuck with me then. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so you feel me like that shit like. It
feels even more genuine when it's strangers. So I don't get upset when it's not the people that's around me, because we've all heard the saying like your support is gonna come from strangers before it come from family.
I was gonna say it, but I'm like, you make content, so you already, everybody that make content already knows that. You feel me? Yeah.
So it don't bother me when I get told.
It's not. It ain't. I don't think it's personal. It's just a simple fact. The way I think of it, right? We all do different things with our time, right? And especially free time, because that's what we don't think about. Like, that time that we spend getting ready for work and at work, that's a whole third of our day that be going off top. You feel me? So, with that other 8 hours, people use them wisely whether they realize it or not. You know what I'm saying? So, some people be like, nah, I'm not taking an hour out of my 8 to listen to your show. I'm sorry. You know what I'm saying? It's not that I don't fuck with you. I do fuck with you. Obviously, I'm around you. Yeah. But I just ain't about to, you know what I'm saying? And it's cool. Like, if you're not a podcast listener, I wouldn't want you to begrudgingly sit there like,
what they talking about.
Right, and be irritated. Like, no, like, I'd rather you do, you know what I'm saying, what you do, and, you know what I mean, everything else is everything else, because if we can find 1 million podcast fans, you know what I'm saying, like,
this would be easy. This would be easy. Y'all wouldn't make it hard for me if everybody was just like, yeah, I'm gonna listen to it because I like you, or because we're cool. Like, I know I have plenty of friends that probably will never touch this show, and that doesn't mean I love them any less. It just means this is not for you. You're not one of those people. And it's okay, because there's a lot of things that y'all gonna do that I'm not into. Right.
And you also gonna have friends that's like fans of this shit. That's like they don't know you or something, but that's just all go a part of, like I said, making content. Once you actually start doing it and releasing it, that's the only way you can really see how this shit really is. You know what I'm saying? And
I think after doing it for so long, you learn different things. Like, back in the beginning, you wouldn't have gotten this perspective from me. I'd be like, you're not my friend if you don't listen to my show.
Motherfuckers be hating, yo, like these niggas.
When we first started, and
see me
like,
shine.
I'm like, bro, y'all don't never say nothing about the show, like, ever. Yeah. Like, now, I can care less. Like, yes, I do care. I would like the people that I, support and that I talk to also support the things that I do, but I understand that it's not a personal thing. I understand that sometimes I don't listen to podcasts. This was not my thing before I was on a podcast.
Wow, I don't know that. Yeah, that's crazy.
No, I never listened to a podcast really before we started doing it. I had no clue what, of course you know what a podcast is. So the first time I got invited to an episode, I just was like, okay, I don't know what's going on. I'm just going to follow everybody's lead.
Yeah.
After it became a regular thing and it became something that I'm actually consistently a part of, like, no, I want you on the show every week. Come on. We got a show to do. We got to record today. What time do you get off work? It's kind of like, okay, now this is something I do. I didn't start actually listening to podcasts until after I was on one.
Right. Because now you in the world of it.
Yeah, I probably was like 6 months in before I listened to somebody else's podcast.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh, that's kind of dope. Like, I wonder how we can flip that and incorporate that. Like,
so did you ever have like any thoughts of broadcasting and stuff like that? Period. Was that ever your like any goal?
So originally, when I went to school, I thought I was gonna go for broadcast journalism. Okay. And I didn't like the idea of being behind the mic.
Wow.
How crazy.
Really? Right.
I didn't want to be behind the camera. I didn't want to be behind the mic. I'm like, I don't really want to talk. I'd rather write. I was still gonna go for journalism, but I'm like, I don't really want to be in the forefront. I don't feel that. Then I ended up changing altogether because of how condensed journalism makes you. So my major became communications in total. Under that, I can do advertising, marketing. I can do journalism. Exactly. I can do broadcast. I can do whatever. But yeah, I didn't want nothing to do with none of this originally. And now you wouldn't be able to tell. Like, people that talk to me about, and I, it's nothing for me to say like, oh, I got a podcast now. And people are like, for real? Yeah, like, let me shoot you the link. But I never would have thought that this would become a normal thing. I never thought I would be listening to my own playback or going to listen to a show like, promoting myself, like marketing myself. Never thought that would be a thing. That's I always thought it was going to be somebody else. Yeah. And then it became myself, and I'm like, yo, let's try to use this to your advantage. Like, we can spin this a couple different ways. Like, I love the fact that I have a part in branding the thing that I'm a part of. I love the fact that, like, I have a say-so in marketing tactics, or I have a say-so in the type of content that goes out, or just in, like, the simple things, like logos or whatever. Like, I created the logo for the Everyday Theory, or our second logo. So it's like having little bits and pieces of, marketing through something that I was already doing kind of amplified the love I had for it. Yeah. And then now that I'm comfortable doing this, it's like, oh, okay, this not so bad.
Yeah, right. I can do this. I can use this. So, like, all of these things we've been talking about, it seemed you got a lot going on. So, like, how do you balance adult life? And I see that you had a lot of responsibility from young, is what I'm gathering from this conversation. So, do you think that helped with your transitioning into just actual adulthood, or was that still like is balancing adulthood? Do you still feel as a child?
It depends on the day. Like, there are honestly some days that I'm like, damn, I'm an adult. Like, and then there are some days that I'm like, this still feels like I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Like, some things that felt like responsibility because they were responsibility. So I've always had a job. From the time I could work, I've had a job. I've kept jobs through school, through summer. I've always gone to school. I've always taken care of my mom. I've always done all these things. So they kind of feel normal to me in a way. I don't feel like I've hit the point that I feel like an actual adult, because all of it just seems like my everyday life. But now that I moved out on my own, it is definitely different. Like, having your own household to manage, having all of these different things that pull your time in different directions. Because even as far as the marketing aspect goes, that was something I pushed back on too. My first client for social media marketing was somebody that I'm distantly related to, that just kind of was like, hey, you want to create my Instagram? You want to help me figure out my Twitter? Just manage it. I don't want to touch it.
Right.
I didn't want nothing to do with it. I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. So come on, I'll pay you. Like, we started, I didn't even know what I was going to be doing. Didn't know what type of price point I was going to set. We ended up coming up with a monthly price that you pay me and you just don't touch your social media. I'm in charge of all of it. Content, distribution, whatever. That's been going on for probably 6 months, and that was the first client, and I didn't want it. So it's like, managing all these different things it is hectic at times, but I think because there are things that are kind of falling in line with what I want to do. Right. It makes it a little easier. Because it's like, every opportunity, I'll say probably for the last 6 months to a year that has come to me has been something that I was like hesitant on. Not that I didn't want to do, but something that I was thinking for myself that I hadn't voiced. So it's like, manifestation and prayer and all of that is definitely real. Because I hadn't told anybody that this is what I want to do. I hadn't told anybody that I want to have my own company that does this. I hadn't told anybody that I want to dabble in some of these things. And suddenly all of these things just started being like, hey, you kind of worked with that in school, didn't you? You used this program before, right? And they became actual monetizing clients. They became actual things. Now, the thing about the balance for that is having a full-time job and having my own job and being a part of this and having a household became way, like, a lot real fast. So learning to, like, kind of juggle it, learning to set out time for certain things, like, we just starting to get back to where we, you know, trying to schedule around everybody's schedule for the show. Right. And it's like being attentive to all of the different responsibilities you have and making sure that nobody falls off is kind of rough. Because I don't like half doing anything.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's like nothing I put my name on is going to be half-assed, ever. You're just not going to get it. If I can't give my all to it, I'm going to tell you no.
My choir teacher, Mr. DuBose, used to say, I'd rather them ask why we didn't than them ask why we did. Yeah. Like, we'd go somewhere we supposed to do 3 songs or something. If he hear us fucking up halfway through that second one, he like, all right, take that bow, come on. And we give up, we like, what we supposed to do with another song? He like, I asked them, I'd rather them ask why we didn't than why we did. And I just be like,
that's because that's facts. Because there's so many things in which I could have done that I would have only half done, or I would have had to stretch too thin to do. And that's kind of the responsibility you gain as an adult, knowing when to say no. Yeah. Knowing when, you know, knowing what's more important. Sometimes the money is not enough. Right. Sometimes the money is not important enough for you to put your name on something that's not going to be worth it in the end. I would much rather you keep whatever you were going to pay me to make this logo than give you something that you're going to put out and people are going to be like, what is that?
Who made that logo? Yeah. That's worth way more than whatever you're going to pay me.
Same thing with the show. Like, I would much rather come into it with the idea that I'm ready to record than come into it not really feeling it and giving you a half episode. If I don't want to listen to it, I don't want nobody else to listen to it. Like, if I don't want to play it back and I sound crazy and like I don't want to be there, why would I want somebody else to listen to that? I don't want any of that to come through.
That's good. Hell no. And it's funny when you say like how things opened up for you as far as your path and everything like that. I think that's so interesting because in my life I always like kind of worked the opposite way, and I always tried to identify the path first. Like, all right, what do I want out of this situation? It was because I don't know, like I spent so much time thinking, right? So I'm like, what do I want out of this? And then I try to put the work in to go that way, right? Music, like literally 10 years ago when I started writing, I said I want to be good at lyrics first. Then I said, all right, I feel like I'm good with metaphors. I want to make good hooks now. All right, I want to make good like literally I just like, you know,
piece by piece.
Yeah, but it was because even at 12 years I had already like kind of mapped out the, you know what I mean, the vision. For you, it seemed like you just put so much work in that once the path was opened up, you already, you know, like the path came to you because you already did the work. Yeah. Where I identified the path, didn't. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's like,
and it'd be crazy because it took so long for me to realize that what was happening. Like, that's only been a realization in the last couple months. That is like, I was really frustrated, and I tell people all the time. Like, I even tell my first client, like, girl, I didn't want to do this. I tell her all the time, like, one day you gonna be mad because I'm gonna quit because I really don't want to do this. And she like, but you see how it worked out. Like, you see it just it came to you. We don't have any discussions. I thought that was the craziest thing. I thought that the trust that people put in just knowing that I was going to be a part of something was so crazy. Because I didn't trust it at all.
Right.
I go into everything like, are you sure? Like,
but people saw something in you that you
I'm like, I'm texting you like, hey, is this okay? Can I do this? People are legit. Like, I've had 3 or 4 different people like, just do your thing. Like, whatever. I just had somebody recently that told me to create this whole thing, create whatever, and was like, just let me know how much it is at the end. What?
Huh? Yeah.
You don't want to,
You
like,
said Bryson. Yeah.
that whenever you done, just let me know.
When you put the work in, people trust the work, it's like, shit, hey, yeah.
But that's the thing for me, and that's why I was so scared, because I don't think in my mind that I've earned this type of trust. Because I haven't done these things. These things are new for me. This is, these are basically blueprint projects. Like, you're the first customer.
I know exactly what you mean. But I feel all the other things you've done prepared you for. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that, because that's what it really is. And that's what I feel like where God come in. You know what I'm saying? Like, God has set things in motion years before they supposed to happen, right? So, like, you'll be working on something, you'll be good at something, you know what I'm saying, before you ever know
why you getting good at it.
Yeah, like, and what you gonna need that skill for, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, like, so even, and I mean, funny, you've spent a lot of time in life growing, you feel me? Yeah. So, when you find a new opportunity where you gotta just grow in it, at least you have experience growing, you know what I'm saying? I think, some people ain't grew since they was 5. You feel me? Some niggas is 5 still.
I think some people see, I think it took a while for me to see what other people see. Like, coming into a situation, I feel like I don't know what I'm doing. They don't know that. That was one of the first things I learned when I started working at the bank. I was so scared to go live by myself after we got out of training. Yeah. My market leader came and told me, you've been topping your class in training. You've beat every number during ramp up goals. Like, you're hitting actual numbers, and we're not expecting you to hit actual numbers yet. You've been hitting goals since you got here.
Right.
Don't worry about it. The first thing she told me after that conversation, and I told her, like, yo, I'm petrified. Like, I'm about to have real clients. They about to be asking me stuff. I don't know what I'm talking about. Right. I'm 22. Bankers be old, like old white women, all up and through here.
Facts. Yeah.
I don't know nothing about mortgages. I don't know nothing about credit. I'm just learning all of these things.
Right.
Best advice I think I've gotten to date from an employer has been, they don't know what you don't know.
Facts.
So as long as you're confident.
Yep.
Then nothing can go wrong.
I was a cashier, so yeah, you literally, So sometimes you just gotta,
They don't know what you don't know. Go into it like you know. And if you don't, go ask questions.
Yeah, I was saying, be humble in your not, but it's a weird balance of confidence and humility, like when you're doing something like that. But
so when I started getting all of these opportunities, it was like, okay, they don't know that you're not capable of some of these things. Right. So either you're gonna do one or two things. Either you're gonna back away from the opportunity and stay stuck, or you're gonna go find the answer, and you're gonna be able to come back with something that you can be proud of. And if you don't, you have the ability, because this is your first time, or because this is something new to you, you always have the ability and the grace to say, okay, look, that's out of my lane. This is what I can do. I've never done that. I'm always honest with people when they come to me and ask me for a specific thing. If I've never touched that, I'm not going to tell you I can't do it, but I'm going to let you know, this is my first time doing that. If you trust it, if you trust it, then cool. I think, like, I had to realize that the people that were trusting in me have seen back then. Right. So yeah, they've seen the little girl that didn't do nothing but get A's. They've seen the girl that did, like, grew up way faster than she needed to, and had enough trust to be like, yo, even if you F this up, so what? Try again.
Right. I got you. Yeah.
I just got told, like, I'm not gonna fire you. The worst case scenario is gonna be, okay, that didn't work out, let's try something else.
Right.
And once I got to that point where I felt comfortable, when people trust you, you trust yourself. Thanks. So once I got to the point where people were telling me things like, just do it, and tell me what you charging at the end. Now, creatively, I'm finna go crazy.
Right. Yeah, I really can.
Because I want to, I'm about to, we gonna get you together. And we gonna get you together. Yeah, let me show you what I can do.
I got something to prove now.
Yeah. And then, like I said, I'm not putting nothing on my name on anything that I'm not proud of. So now, now that you trust me, and now that I have enough trust in myself to go ahead and go get it, I know that I'm not going to create something I'm not proud of, because I want you to go tell somebody you used me. I want you to come back and be like, nah, she did that. Go talk to her.
Right.
And I've had it happen so many times with things that are like small and minuscule that it's like, okay, people kept telling me over and over, whenever you're ready for your business, like my first client, she was like, I got 5 for you, waiting for you to go ahead and give the clear. I ain't gonna give the clear until you're ready, but just know, like, I have people waiting on you.
I'm saying, we set up. Yeah, like, and that's what you mean. Yeah, and when you invest in yourself, like, that's what happened, like, along this path. Hopefully you run into people that's willing to invest like that into you. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it all going hand in hand pretty much. Y'all can grow each other, and, you know, everything copacetic. So, I got a couple more. Birthday in December. Are you a Sagittarius?
I'm a Sag gang. I'm a Sagittarius. I'm the last day of a Sagittarius. And because of the time I was born, depending on how you play, I was born on the 21st, so it's technically the last day of the Sagittarius zodiac. Some people, depending on which zodiac you look at, is the first day of being a Capricorn. But they call it the cusp, so I'm on the cusp.
Right.
I feel like I act more like Capricorns do. So whenever I read zodiacs, I'm like half and half. Like some things match on Sagittarius, and some things are totally off.
Right. They just.
And then the other things is like, oh, that's because that's the Capricorn part.
Right.
My siblings, both of my siblings are Capricorns, so it's like I just kind of missed the cut by a little bit. But yeah.
I'm with you. So have you ever really been super into it, or just your sign? You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, because we all millennials, so everybody done looked up their sign and stuff like that before.
I'm one of those my sign people, but I will say in the like most recent past, I do look at the zodiacs of the people I'm closest to.
Yeah.
So I kind of do have like my quirks about other zodiacs, because I'm like, all right, I know what my best friend is. Let me look at this. Like, this do sound like.
Yeah, let me just see.
Yeah, like.
But so you do also do that though. You kind of take it with a grain of salt. Like, all right, let me see what is like. It does this match? You know what I'm saying? And if it does, it does. If it don't, like,
and then there's things I'm starting to pick up as I'm older, because now that I can know how it works, like I know certain signs fall at certain times, I'd be like, oh yeah, that's that Taurus shit.
Yeah.
That's that Cancer shit right there. All right, cool. I'm not one of those people that are like huge into it, so if I ask you your birthday, you ain't gotta worry about me psychoanalyzing you.
See,
talking about, no, I can't fuck with you because your birthday in
midnight. See, I knew it was midnight. This motherfucker here.
Yeah, like I can't. I ain't one of those. I'm not gonna psychoanalyze you, but there are certain things that I notice about certain signs, so I do move accordingly when I deal with certain people. Because if you're one of the same signs as one of the people that I'm closest to at this point, I've kind of studied them, and I'm like, I already got some premonitions about you. You go ahead and sit on over here. Let me observe you for a second.
That's exactly. That's exactly how I feel just about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, let me see. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a nice base to work from, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, just. Yeah, to look into. That's funny. So I'm trying to, and I wanted to know who into zodiac shit, because two things. I want to, of course, do a show about it one day, right? Like, everybody come on and talk. You know what I'm saying? They experience with different shit, different signs, right? But also, I want to see where people get the real information from.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like what you reading?
Where do you get this
rubbing
from?
On the, you feel me? Like, how you getting this transmission of information to your brain? And so, if this was the last minute of the podcast, what would you want people to know about you? That because we done went over a lot, but
we done went over everything.
Right.
What would I want people to know about me? I don't think there's nothing I would want them to know about me. Not me specifically.
She don't want you niggas to know her. You feel me?
I'm low key out here. You don't know nothing about me.
I'm under the radar. I like that.
You know Stacks, fam. Right. You don't know me. But there, like, so on our show, we always drop. We call them gems, jewels, diamonds at the end of the show. So I think if there's something that I was going to partake in for the end of the show, I've been using this quote all week. Don't shrink yourself to make someone else comfortable.
Yikes.
So that's what I would like to impart to the people. If there's anything that's hindering you, if there's anything that's holding you back, if there's any sense of hesitation in yourself, let it go. Let God. Don't shrink yourself to make someone else comfortable. Because at the end of the day, we all have a goal and we all have a purpose that we need to complete. And you're not going to complete that if you're too busy worried about what somebody else is going to say about you. Be in your own lane. Don't be scared to be in your own lane. If you by yourself, ain't nothing to stop you.
So yeah, don't fear isolation. I'm with you. I listen. I'm like, you done snapped today.
Oh, I done snapped today. Not snap.
No, yeah, for real. Because I mean, hey, shoot, like when I say some people want, like I ask people what they want people to know about them. Like usually, somebody would just take that opportunity to push themselves even more, which you should. But you just take that moment to, you know what I'm saying, try to build everybody else. Shit, that's like, you know, that's what we know about you. You know what I'm saying? You help build. You build it. You feel me?
Yeah, I would much rather put somebody else on than put myself on. Look, y'all heard enough about me. I've been talking this whole show. I want somebody to walk away from this and be like, yo, all right, I got an example of what it looks like.
So you tired of doing all the work on group projects.
I got an example of what it looks like to go against the grain. Like if especially for like young black people in general, and I hate to generalize, but our society is such a following ass society. If I can tell somebody like, yo, do you and do it unapologetically. Fact. Don't worry about what comes from it, who fucks with it. That's gonna come. Things that I never thought somebody would believe in me for are things I'm getting paid for. Things that I never saw myself doing are things that I'm doing every day and loving the hell out of it. Things that I was scared to pursue, I conquered and smashed without anybody else's input. Like, there are so many times where somebody told me I shouldn't be doing something. I shouldn't go to Michigan State. I shouldn't be where I'm at. I shouldn't be hanging with who I'm hanging with. Like, I'm building a whole foundation for something so much bigger off of people telling me don't do it.
Facts.
Everybody's path ain't your path.
Oh man, and I'm so glad. I'm so glad we got that little extra out, because that's one of my, like, I'm talking about, I damn near probably talk about that at least 4 times a week. Like, just how many adults was wrong in telling me things growing up. And because you're a kid, you're just supposed to listen to an adult. Yeah. But as a kid, if you have experience with adults being wrong, you find out the adults can be wrong. And the earlier you find out as a kid, I feel like it's the better for you. You know what I'm saying? Because you know, all right, yeah, I'm not going to play in the street. I think he's right there. You feel me? He on to something. But I don't know. You telling me I shouldn't rap? I don't know. You feel like, you know, like, but yeah, like, yeah.
Everybody can't see the vision that you see for yourself. Yep. Nobody knows your true purpose. Nobody knows your true vision, what's meant for you, but you and God. Or you and whatever you believe in. So if you wake up every day with the passion that I'm gonna rap and that's what I want to be my livelihood, remember that even if the money never comes from that, right, if that's what makes you happy every day, your happiness is bigger than what people are saying. Your happiness is bigger than people that have something to say about you doing something with your life that they didn't see fit. Yep. It's so many celebrities and so many athletes and so many millionaires right now that say, this ain't what I thought I was going to be doing. This ain't what people told me no.
To not do this.
People told me no consistently. I was broke. I was homeless. I was this. I was that. And now I'm here because I didn't listen to that no.
Persevering. And so look, so be you. Be blessed. Listen to Scott versus the internet.
Hey.
And what's the other one? I'm about to dig that up on there. What was the other one?
The old one?
Yeah.
The Everyday Theory. So, fun fact, y'all not gonna be able to find a lot of things, but you will find some. So you can look us up on YouTube, SoundCloud, and we are on Apple Music and Spotify. So you can look up the shows. Make sure you check out Monumental. COVID kind of put a snag in some things, but that will get started. And it's a dope process with a dope mentor and a dope black man
and
individual.
I'm telling you, better yet, that cause I mean, I might as well interview bro if he got some time, whenever he got some time. So yeah, I feel like whenever around lunchtime, if he got that time, I would love to, bring him back in and we could talk in depth.
Got you. Because it's definitely a movement you want to be a part of. You don't want to get left out. It's important for our young people. So check that out. Follow me at lyrical_emotion everywhere. Once more. And, check me out for what's next. New content coming soon. Mm-hmm. I got a couple bags, so follow me as the entity and then follow me as the group.
You hear me? So, yeah, all the links will be in the description. Thank y'all for listening. Micalah, thank you for coming.
No problem.
Peace and Black Power. We out.